Welcome to Healings with Kat, the podcast. I'm Kat, or you can call me Catherine. I'm the host for this podcast. This is a space for healing, strengthening your intuition, and awakening to your true self. Over the next several episodes, I'm taking you with me through the journey that changed my life forever. I'll share how I discovered I was a clair empath psychic, the trauma I had to walk through, the moments that awakened something deep within me, and the lessons that taught me that our greatest pain can become our greatest purpose. My hope is that these stories inspire you to trust yourself, remember your inner strength, and realize that healing begins within. You can connect more with me on Facebook and Instagram at Healings with Kat. Stay tuned for future free limited Reiki energy healing offerings online and in person. And now, let's begin. I thought I was dying, then I left my body. My NDE story. Welcome back to episode 3. I'm so excited to actually do this podcast because I feel like I have a lot of stories to tell, and I want to help other people that have gone through similar stories like this, because we're not alone. Make sure you go back and listen, or if you haven't already, go and listen to episode 1 and episode 2 to continue on to this episode. Make sure you watch or listen to 1 and 2 before you listen to 3. And this story is connected to the part of episode 1 and 2. And I felt like I wanted to make this story like separate from the entire other story of what happened to me. And I think let's just start. So make sure you go to episode 1 and episode 2 before you follow along to this episode, because you're not going to know what the heck I'm talking about. And let's start off with, I think there was it was in episode 2 where I talked about I was sick for 10 months. And at that time, I was slowly dying. I was going blind. I remember laying in bed and trying to watch TV, and I could barely see the TV. I was going blind very slowly. And it was that night. I don't remember what the date was or anything, or what day it was. But I remember going to sleep that night. All I remember is that it was 10 months. It was within the 10-month mark. And it was in 2011. Definitely remember that. And I was going to sleep that night. And I remember just being exhausted and tired from being in pain so long. And I remember feeling and thinking that I couldn't handle the pain anymore, because I was in constant pain, nonstop, 24/7 in pain. The pain that I was mostly in was in my gut area, my intestines, my stomach area, and then just having a headache. I had a migraine. I couldn't see that well. I couldn't function. I couldn't even carry on a conversation. I couldn't even get out of bed and feed myself. I was just laid in bed all day, and I wasn't actually eating because I couldn't eat. And if you follow along to episode 1 and 2, mostly in 2 is when I talk about what was going on with me at the time. Then you will know exactly what I'm talking about. But I remember thinking and feeling that I started thinking I couldn't handle this anymore. I couldn't keep going. We'll just put it in those terms. I couldn't keep living like this. We'll just say that. And it was that night, and I remember laying on my back. And I know this has happened to quite a few people. It's very common. It's common, but like not common, I guess you could say. And no one explains like how this happens. And I still to this day don't even understand. Like still can't even explain it till this day. But I remember laying on my back, and I remember all of a sudden feeling this black shadowy figure hovering over me, and it was very big. It was probably over 7 feet tall. It was like taller than me, and it had like arms, but they were like a shadowy kind of thing. I don't explain it, but they kind of looked like a long fuzzy arm. I really don't know how to explain it. And it had big long nails. It had a mouth, and it had big long teeth. And I don't think it had eyes. I don't think so. I don't quite remember. But I remember it like forming over me, and it was actually trying to take my life force. I'm not sure what it's called, but based off of my research, I got super interested after that experience watching The Dead Files, Amy Allen, The Dead Files. And it's a really creepy show, but I really was trying to understand like what happened to me in that experience. And all I can understand is that, well, I definitely was having a near-death experience during that time, just because of the condition that I was in. And I'm thinking, and like also like the thoughts that I was thinking, that I just couldn't keep going, like with being in this kind of like pain and suffering and stuff. And I just remember feeling that, like, I'm just trying to remember because this was like in 2011 and now it's 2026. So I have to go back down to memory lane here. And I remember feeling very scared. And when those things are like over you, I think it was a reaper. That's what I was going to say. I think they're reapers. And I'm like, oh my God, is this like a real thing? Like, what? You know what I'm saying? It was wild. And what happens is that I felt paralyzed. That's a very common thing that people experience. And people experience this not even going through an NDE or anything. People experience this just like in their daily life, like in the middle of the night while they're sleeping. Like I've heard some stories. I think it happened to my friend one time when she was like a child. And I don't even know how or why that even happened to her. But from my experience, I felt like this was like definitely like a reaper trying to take my life force. And it made me paralyzed. It was like flying over me, and it was very, very close to me. It was very close. It was like right on top of me. And I remember it was trying to suck the life force out of me through its mouth. And that's why like I saw like its teeth and stuff. And it was weird because I was like awake, but not awake. It was like I was in a trance because like at that time, I think like I was slowly dying. So I definitely was having a near death experience because like when I opened my eyes, I like felt like I was in a different dimension or a different world. And I felt like I was in a world where there was a lot of, you know, don't listen to this if you're very religious, because I don't want to offend anybody. So believe whatever you want to believe. No worries. All good. Everyone is welcome here. No worries. I'm just explaining it from my own experience and what I experienced and like the things that I saw during that time. So no worries. Everyone's welcome here. But I felt like I saw like this kind of different dimension in this like world and kind of like where possibly maybe spirits live. I don't know, you know, just what I saw and what I felt like I saw. And I uh where was I at? So this thing was like flying over me, right? And it was sucking the life force out of me. And at the time I was actually in a relationship with a guy at the time. And I'm not going to say his name, um, for confidentiality purposes and things like that. But he was laying next to me and he was asleep the entire night. He didn't see anything, he didn't hear anything. It was just my experience. And I don't remember how long it lasted, but as this thing was trying to suck my life force out of me, I felt paralyzed and I could not speak. At the time, I was like trying to speak and I was like trying to like tap on to my boyfriend at the time. I was trying to like tap on his arm and like wake him up. And I remember like, actually, yeah, I remember my eyes were opened and they were like big. My eyes were like, oh my God, what is this? In my head, I'm like, what is happening? And I tried to tap on my boyfriend with my hand, my right hand. He was like laying on the right side of me. And I couldn't do it. I was frozen and I couldn't speak and I couldn't say anything. And all of a sudden, when I was trying to like ask for help, my dad, he passed away when I was 15 years old in a car accident. And I just found out a year ago after him passing away in 2002, I think it was. Wow, that's a long time. It's 2026. So he passed out. He passed away in 2002 um in the car accident, and still like for 20 years we couldn't figure out why. And even the autopsy didn't they didn't do an autopsy of his brain, just his body, and nothing came up. So like I had an appointment with like a medium psychic a year ago, and I really wanted to connect with my dad, and she told me that he died from an aneurysm. And I'm like, oh my God, everything actually makes complete sense. But anyways, that's what happened. My dad passed away when I was 15. I think he's actually now, I believe he's my guardian angel. And he's always there for me. I think he's always has been protecting me this whole entire time. Um, and so I was this, thing, we're just calling it a thing, was, it was flying over me. I was paralyzed. I couldn't speak. I was trying to tap on my boyfriend's arm, trying to wake him up, because, I couldn't even do that. I was frozen. And then I was calling out for help through my mind, I guess. And I remember, to like, all of a sudden my dad showed up. And he was flying above my head, but like on my left side. And I had to like look up a little bit. Like he was like right above my head, like more on the left side of me, I guess you could say. And he was telling it to get off of me. And he was telling me, you need to tell it to get off of you because you need to live. You need to continue to live because there are things that you need to do in this life. Like you have a mission in this lifetime. Like that's the message that I was getting. And it felt like, so it's crazy, right? Okay. It feels like it lasted an eternity with this kind of situation or an event that was going on with me. It felt like an eternity, but I think it only lasted like seconds, I guess, but it felt way longer than that. So I'm not even sure how long this event was going on for. But after, I picked that information up from my dad, he was like a glowing light. He was also glowing. He was like a bright gold white light around him, and it was very, very, very bright. And I think, he was telling me you need to tell this thing to get off of you, and that you are not afraid, and that you don't want to, I don't want to say the word, DIE, for, you know, for suicidal purposes, because this is not what this was, guys. This is not what this was. So don't get the wrong idea here. It was mostly just, something was wrong with me, and I was sick for really long, and there was something wrong with me. If you follow along to I think I say it in episode 2. And if you, obviously, if you're listening to this now, you have listened to episode 2. So, of course, there was over a dozen of parasites in my intestines. I had like over a dozen of eggs embedded in my colon just from eating sushi, as the colonoscopy doctor diagnosed it as parasites from eating sushi. They couldn't diagnose like what kind of parasites they were, because like I drank the prep drink the night before the colonoscopy procedure, and they couldn't diagnose what kind of parasites they were because they were dead. Like the prep drink actually kills them. So, a little tip for, that one. Because I wish I would have known that 10 months ago. Just drink vinegar. I think there's vinegar in the colonoscopy drink. I can't remember, but I think it's vinegar and something else. I really can't remember. And so I was laying there, and my dad was telling me to get off of it. And I think that was when I finally had the strength, and I was like, I'm not afraid, get off of me. I'm not afraid, get off of me. I'm not afraid, get off of me. And I don't remember it specifically leaving. I just remember falling back asleep and waking up. And that was when, the moment I woke up that morning, my mom comes like running into my room. Well, I don't think she was like running, but she was like kind of frantically coming into my room. And she was like, I woke up in the middle of the night last night, and I think I saw dad. I think I saw dad standing in the doorway of my room. And the only thing I picked up intuitively, she felt like he was communicating with her and saying like, there's something really wrong with Catherine. You need to do something now. So that was like literally the very next day. It was like early in the morning. I think it was like 8 or 9. I mean, I guess that's not that early in the morning, but in the morning, shortly after that, she goes, you know what? I think you're gonna get a colonoscopy done, which I kind of say a little bit of that story in episode 2. And I talk about all of my colonoscopy experience in episode 2 and everything like that. So I really wanted to make this near-death experience separate from the other story, because I feel like there's so many people that actually have some sort of like near-death experience in their life. I feel like a lot of healers probably do, or like people who are, mediums and psychic mediums, and they kind of ignore their gift, and then this traumatic thing happens to them, and then they have this near-death experience. That's kind of like the common theme, but everyone has their own story, of course. But I think that's like the common theme with it. And I think for me, I was ignoring my gifts. Because after that experience, and after I had the colonoscopy and I got better and everything, it took over a year. During that time frame, I became obsessed with nutrition and feeding my body with the right foods and studying like what exactly does bananas do to your body, and and nourishing my body. And I didn't know about my gifts, being a clair empath psychic then, because I have another story to tell with that, of course. Of course. And that one is actually also intense too. But it's a really good story. And I think it's something that I need to share with the world, or with my listeners and my viewers. But let me go to my little notes here, and I'm gonna pick. Let's see. I'm gonna pick the next question that where we can end this episode on. The question is, so after the end of every episode, I really want to ask a question to you, about anything that is related to the topics that we're talking about. And the question that I have for you today to end this episode is, I had it right here. Okay. What are you currently being called to heal? What are you currently being called to heal? Feel free to answer that comment in the answer the question in the comments below, or you can simply answer it yourself, or you can journal it, or you can just answer it in your head, whatever you would like, do what you want to do. Feel called, be yourself, be who you are, be who you feel like you are inside. No worries. And that's all the time that we have for today, and see you on the next episode. Thank you for joining me today on Healings with Kat. If today's episode spoke to your heart, I'd be so grateful if you followed the podcast and left a review. It truly helps more people find these conversations. Until we meet again, remember to protect your energy, listen to your intuition, and give yourself grace as you continue your healing journey. Sending you so much love and light. Take care, and I'll talk to you in the next episode.